I've got 7 podcasts to rule. 7 podcasts. Do you think it's honor that keeps them in mind? Do you think it's honor that keeps peace on the internet? No, it's fear. Fear and subscribers. We're talking about Game of Thrones. What up? What up? What up, internet? Where you are, where you be, who you at, what you see. And today is a very special, super duper, fantastical, I guess, episode. We're going to talk about the hit series, HBO series, and the books of Game of Thrones, written by George R.R. Martin. But before we get any further, we got some special guests here tonight. So let me just turn it over to them and my fellow co-hosts. What's going on, everybody?
Mark, I gotta say, I'm proud of you because you could have gone really, really dark with your little opening there. And yet you kind of just went subtle funny. So kudos to you, Mark Jones. I can only imagine where your mind would have gone with all that is Game of Thrones. So kudos for you. Anyways, this is Niels R.Y., aka Nellis of the Blackwater. And I am excited to talk with you all today. And we are lucky and blessed to have a special guest with us. And our special guest is Alessandra. Alice, say hi to everybody.
Oh my God. Hi, everybody. Hi. This is Alessandra. What up? AKA mother of one wildling. Yeah.
I love
Maybe
it.
direwolf. I don't know. She's just a wild one.
We'll figure out what she turns into. So, Alice, funny if you all may know, some of you members of the podcast may know this, but Alice is the little sister of Justo. Justo from the Justo episode early in the days of Pop Cult. And so, yes, that means Alice is my sister from another mister.
Yeah.
And so we are excited to have her. Alice has actually read all of the Game of Thrones books.
Yeah.
And another funny note is the reason I watched Game of Thrones is because Alice put me and Justo on. I actually watched the first episode. Was it the first 2 episodes or was it just the first episode?
I didn't know that. I mean, I'm honored. I'll take the credit. But yeah, I think definitely the first episode, remember watching in our basement.
Yes.
And being like, what is this? What have we entered? Where I'm in.
I was like, who is this British Matt Damon? And next thing you know, this man gets died by ice zombies. And then we don't see ice zombies for about 3 more episodes.
Yeah.
And Alice is like, yeah, this is Game of Thrones. Welcome. Alice has also introduced me to the Hunger Games. She introduced me to Riverdale.
Oh, yeah.
She introduced me to a bunch of random stuff that I just started watching religiously because of you.
It goes both ways. You've introduced me to Nicki Minaj, and I thank you for that. So really altered the course of my life.
Hey, I'm just going to say that list does not compare. It's like Game of Thrones, Hunger Games, Smallville, and you showed me Nicki Minaj. It's like
the list.
It's like she's like looking through her notes. Like, what did he show me? What did he show me? Nicki Minaj.
I would argue that no, I feel like she was important. Okay, so that's another episode.
So it's okay. It's okay. Neither here nor there.
Thank you.
Yes, Alice. Any other things you want to share before we jump in?
Oh my God, I'm honored to be here. I love this podcast. Love the concept. Love talking about pop culture and thinking about, how I'm gonna force my child into liking all the things that I like, because that's what we think is going to happen as parents. But then there's going to be like this new phenomenon that they're going to be really into. So hopefully I can get into whatever they're into. But anyway, yeah, happy to be here.
Alice, can I ask you a question? How did you get into the books?
So I didn't read the books until after the first season. I was that person that's like, I'm always that person that's like, I watch a show, I'm like, that's really good. I bet the book is better. So then I read the first book and just kept going, reading as much as I could. So then by the time the second season came, I was like completely caught up. And I was one of those people that was the book reader, and I had all the spoilers and like kept my mouth shut. And that was really tough.
Alice. Respect.
Yeah, we all.
Would you say?
Wild.
Would you say the books are actually better than the show?
Ooh, that's tough. I think any answer I give you, somebody's gonna like wreck me for it. But I enjoyed the show better. The books, they're long, they're a chore sometimes, and they're dense. You're getting characters that did never make an appearance in the show, and we can get into it later. But I have there's just a lot of emotional up and downs. But I think the show, because it ended and it gave me an ending, like it kept going and pushing forward. I just don't see an end in sight for this book. And I don't know, like, is he going to write the last one? Like, he's so old. George.
I don't think he's going to.
I don't know.
And that's so unsatisfying.
Yeah.
Torture. So
he has honestly, why would he write the last book? I'm just thinking this from like a PR. Like, this dude has written like one of the best series of all time. I mean, he's rich as everybody who you could think of. Yeah. And if he doesn't finish it, it becomes this like pop culture phenomenon. You know what I mean? Like, or if he writes the ending and people hate it, then you know what I mean? So does he have a reason to finish? I'm just saying.
I think he has to finish because he has to save it. People there, a lot of people really don't like the last 2 seasons and think it like completely eliminates Game of Thrones from the lexicon and like from the like list of greatest. So I don't know I know that we might get into that too, but like,
we are going to get into it because you're talking about one of them right here.
Yeah, in order to save the series and franchise or like all of it, I think he needs to finish.
Well, let's jump into the history and jump into this fun and exciting conversation that we're going to have about Game of Thrones. So, Game of Thrones is an HBO series by David Benioff, I think I said his name right, and D.B. Wise, which started in 2011 and ended in 2019. Game of Thrones is based off of, as we've already said, George R.R. Martin's book series, A Song of Ice and Fire. The book series started in 1996. And if y'all don't remember 96, that's when Michael Johnson ran his butt off in the Olympics in Atlanta. That's how old this book series is.
96?
96 is when it got published.
Independence Day? Will Smith?
Independence Day.
What the hell?
Bruh,
he ain't finishing these books, man. He ain't finishing these books.
And that's when it published. I believe he started working on it in 91.
Oh, so my goodness.
96 was a long time ago. Anyways, so in 1996.
Nels, 96, getting AOL CDs in the mail, 1996.
Yo, that was in 96, it was dope to get the 50-hour CD. If you got the 50-hour CD, you were like king of the block. I digress.
I'm sorry. I wanted to run.
Anyways, so in 1996, the first book in the series, A Game of Thrones, came out. And currently, as Alice has shared, there are 5 books that are out within the planned and expected 7 books to complete the series. So a couple things about the book. Well, one important fact about the book, 90 million copies of all these series have came out. So 90 of all the 5 books, 90 million copies have been sold. You already remember from our last episode, the Jay-Z episode, we talked about how Jay-Z sold 36 million copies of all his 13 platinum CDs. George R.R. Martin has sold more of his 5 books than Jay-Z has sold of his entire catalog. That's how nasty the Song of Ice and Fire books have been on these streets. We talking Harry Potter numbers out here. So needless to say, this book is pretty popular. And now we'll talk about the show. The show was 8 seasons long, 73 episodes. It has won 59 Emmy Awards. I mean, I haven't done the research, but I can assure you, I'm almost certain no other scripted series has more Emmys than Game of Thrones. Like, this is, Frasier was like, I know the one that was like a big deal. And it's probably double the number of awards that Frasier has, but the internet can correct me if I'm wrong. And I think at its highest on the Sundays when Game of Thrones came out, there was about 32 million people watching it, which made it the most watched HBO series ever. Yes, more than The Sopranos. Yes, more than The Wire. The most watched HBO series ever. And as we've shared earlier, some would argue that Game of Thrones was the greatest TV show of all time. A lot of those people didn't watch the last 2 seasons. Anyways, Mark, you have any another fact before we move on?
Yeah, so just to put things in perspective, like 32 million people, like I just want to, okay, I think at its height, Walking Dead was getting like 20 million viewers, right? And then like I think
which just to clarify, when we're talking like Walking Dead at its height, Walking Dead was the most watched program on TV at its height. And that was 20 million. Sheesh.
That was like 20 million people. And I think Rick and Morty skims 1 million, right? So like when you touch like 1 million viewers, like there's like talk to be renewed, you know, extra seasons. So 32 million, dog. There's a lot of high-fiving going around at the HBO headquarters when they get those numbers.
And it's HBO. Not everybody got HBO.
That's like, the other thing. It's a premium. No, what do they call it? It's not basic cable or
Premier Access.
There you go, Premier Access. You have to buy it. You have to go buy it to watch it. And then I think I heard that like that's not even including if you add in like the bootleg views. It's even like bigger than that.
Yeah.
Like the pirated views makes it even like higher. Yeah.
There are folks who buy HBO and had it for 3 months just to watch Game of Thrones. So yeah. Anyways, did we hype it up enough for y'all? I mean, y'all were there. Pop cult. I'm sure you're all aware. You probably watched it. But just a reminder, Game of Thrones was a big deal. So I think I already shared how I was introduced to Game of Thrones. Alice, me and Alice's brother came through and Alice was like, so we're watching this tonight. And I was like, cool. And then I saw a British Matt Damon and iZombies and said, say less. And then the episode ended with my favorite character getting pushed out of a window. And I was like, what is going on? And next thing I know, the next, 8 years of my life is dedicated to this show. So that's how I was introduced. It's your fault, Alice. But Alice, how were you introduced to Game of Thrones?
I mean, I was there. I'm a sucker for fantasy, high fantasy. I'll watch anything if it's got zombies, vampires, swords, and sandals. So take me there. But I mean, yeah, I think True Blood was like at its height at this moment. And HBO was just like, let's throw in some fantasy. And so I was like, let's do it. And then they won me with Arya. They won me with Sansa. They won me with like just those complex characters. And then I read the books. And then I just kept, consuming all that content. I would read the books and then I also listened to the audiobooks because I was driving a lot at the time. And I was just like listening in my car, just being like, oh my God, the Red Wedding. I would be like shaking, like, no, I'm just like screaming, like, no. So Game of Thrones was life.
Those must have been some long car rides for those audiobooks.
It was a long distance relationship, so I was driving a lot.
That's funny because for me, it's always been hard for me to get into fantasy. Like I've tried to get into Tolkien. there's always a lot of backstory in fantasy. There's always like father of gimme golf and land of the mountains, and there's always like you gotta like do like 8 pages of backstory whenever like someone's introduced, and he slayed the dragon with its own golden tooth, and it's like, oh my god, like come on, like let's get to it. So like I've always been like, fantasy has just not been my thing for a long time, and like I saw the Lord of the Rings movies, and that was like the one exception. So the way I got introduced to Game of Thrones was actually Nels, you and Husto came over to my place, and I was doing something, I was working on something, and I remember you guys were talking about like, hey, did you see Game of Thrones? Did you see? And you guys like, oh, what episode? Let's catch up. And so you guys actually watched the episode at my house, and I wasn't really paying attention. And then you guys were just talking about it, and you guys were like, you gotta watch this show. Mark, have you seen this show? You gotta watch this show. And I was like, okay, what is it? You're like, it's like, you're like, it's Lord of the Rings, but it's like legit. You know, like you guys are just like going in on the show.
Yeah, that's a hell of a description. It's Lord of the Rings, but it's legit.
No,
go us.
And no diss to Lord of the Rings, but like, I think this was either towards the end of season 1, because I don't know what happened. So you guys were just like, yo, you gotta watch the show, Mark. You got, we were drinking, so like it was that kind of day. But you're like, you gotta watch the show. You gotta watch the show. And I was like, all right, man, whatever. Okay. I was like, I'll check it out. Y'all left. I remember this. Y'all left, and I went to On Demand, and I watched that night, and I damn near finished season 1. Like, because I think like season 2 or something had just started, and I damn near finished like season 1, like into the next morning, dog. It was ridiculous. Like I pretty much watched the whole thing, and I was like, yo, what is this show? Like, we could get into it, but like that's pretty much how like y'all got me into it, and I was hooked. I was just hooked from like day one, and it's crazy because the show takes its time, but it's still so engaging. It's still like it just dangles these little things, dragons, little snow zombies. Come on, follow us 3 more episodes. You might get a little taste of this, and like it got me. So like that's how I first saw the show.
Man, so Alice, technically, through laws of, I forgot what the actual math law is, but through that law, you are the reason that Mark watched Game of Thrones.
Yeah, 6 degrees of Alessandra getting you into fantasy.
What if, you know what's crazy? Alice, what if you're the reason the entire country watched Game of Thrones? Like it all just randomly connects back to you. It could be possible.
I love planting those seeds.
All right. So, folks, we're going to jump into some questions. This is actually a pretty hard question because of the nature of Game of Thrones. But I trust you all, so I'm going to ask it. And I know this is not an easy question. But the question is, who is your all-time favorite Game of Thrones character? And so I will start because I know how difficult this question is, and I'm going to attempt to answer.
Hey, I just want to say, Nels, I hate you for all these questions.
Hey.
This is like...
That's how I know I'm doing a good job.
I love you for all these questions.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you. That's family. So I'm cheating a little bit. I just want to acknowledge Ned Stark, and I want to acknowledge Khal Drogo, because Ned Stark was my favorite character of Game of Thrones. I was watching Game of Thrones because of Ned Stark, like straight up. Like, and Alice knows because I was watching the shows with her. I was like, Ned Stark's my guy. When in doubt, Ned Stark. And he was legit the star. Like, I forgot, what's the brother's name? Yeah, I remember his name, the actor.
Wow.
What's his name? Oh, the Ned Stark's actor?
Yeah. He dies in everything.
Yeah, he dies like in everything. Oh my God, what? I can't believe I forget his name.
It must be
Sean Bean. There you go.
Sean Bean, thank you. Yeah. Like, I'm a Sean Bean fan, and yes, he dies in everything. It should have probably like been a precursor of what was about to happen. And then Khal Drogo, I'm like, yo, I'm an easy sell. Put Jason Momoa in anything, I'm gonna like it. It don't take much for me. And like, I'm sure he can act, but I don't really watch him for his acting. I watch him for like him being him in whatever mysterious universe he is in. And at some points, he may have mystical water magic powers, or he may be the random king leader of the horse-eating people. It don't matter to me. I'm down for Jason Momoa. So those were my favorite characters, but my all-time favorite Game of Thrones character is Tyrion Lannister. Like, the man has some of the best lines. The acting was phenomenal. He has a ridiculous story arc in every single season. You are constantly wondering if this man is going to die because you love him so much. And typically when you love somebody, they're going to get got. He has dealt with every single faction. If you were to ask me who is Game of Thrones about, I'm probably going to say it's like either Tyrion, Khaleesi, or Jon Snow. Like, it's one of them, but like I'm probably going to pick Tyrion for similar reasons, Mark, why you pick Vegeta every time we talk about Dragon Ball Z. Like, it may not be like the main character, but like who has had the craziest story arc? Like, to me, it's Tyrion. So that's my all-time favorite Game of Thrones character. Who'd like to go next?
Please, our guests.
Oh boy. Okay.
Please.
This wasn't hard to think of, but I do have some honorable mentions, but I'll just get into why I think I'll start with honorable mentions and I'll jump into my favorite. And this is based off the TV show. Sir Davos, the Onion Knight. If you recall, okay, great. You guys are nodding your heads. You remember him. He was a real MVP. He made it through. I'm shocked he didn't die. And I just wanted a happy retirement for him. He just went through so much. Dario Naharis, Danny's lover, surfer boy, lover boy, just had a lot of swagger. Obviously, I'm here for the eye candy. Sir Podrick Payne, which is...
Hold on, Alice. Before you go about to Pod, like, didn't Loverboy just get like handed the entire kingdom of Essos, or what's it called, Essos?
He must have had that good because she was like, "Here's my kingdom."
She was like, "I'm leaving."
Yo, she was like,
"Here's the kingdom."
She's like, "Look, it's too.
You're
good.
not qualified at all. Here's the kingdom I'm out.
What we got is too good that if you come with me, it's just going to be a distraction. So here's the whole Eastern Hemisphere, and I'll be back later."
Yes.
Yes. Podrick Payne loved the comedy. He was Tyrion's ride or die. And Marjorie Tyrell, I felt like she for a minute was about to win it. You know what I mean? Like, she was really working the system. So I was kind of rooting for her for a bit. And then the sad blow up story. And then my all-time, I'm a Sansa stan. Her growth was huge. I know in the beginning, everybody's like, boo Sansa, she sucks. But like, she just had the most growth. I appreciated the soft power that she had. Like, she was learning from Cersei. She was learning from Littlefinger. And she, in the end, wins. Like, I mean, she might not be sitting on the Iron Throne, but she's Queen of Winterfell. She didn't lift a sword. She didn't like stab anybody. Well, she probably, she was caused a couple deaths, but like, she called the army. She won the Battle of Bastards. She got Winterfell back. She just made that transformation of like caring so much about Joffrey, and then she gets, you, as all women do, you wake up one day and realize I can't trust the adults in the room. That's a tough lesson to learn. And not even just women, everybody learns that. You're just this child, and then you realize one day the adults around me are not looking out for me. So I got to look out for myself. So Sansa, that's the truth. Because not everybody can pick up the sword and become Arya. Come on. But we can all be Sansa.
Okay, I'm going to divulge and just touch on what you said, because like you hit so many dope notes. First of all, the way you soft power. Yes, I want to get into this. When you think about it, she did win. Sansa played the game. She came in rough. She got her licks in the beginning. Like, she was like Rocky, came left foot, some injuries, came back, beat Apollo Creed, beat Mr. T, beat all of Russia, like she
ended the Cold War.
Ended the Cold
literally
War.
Yeah.
Like she won. She
also had no magic powers.
Yeah,
exactly.
no magic, no random magic powers.
No magic. She's not like Arya. She's not this like assassin, badass John Wick of Winterfell. But the soft power, I want to get into that because I think that's a powerful thing this series does is sometimes, and I'm trying to find the right words for this, right? Sometimes people write this like fictional history or these like revisionist histories, and they concentrate on groups that might have been like marginalized or oppressed, and they kind of like, oh well, you know what she did, she grabbed a knife and killed the whole castle, and it's like, would that have happened, or would she have used the tools around her to gain power and gain clout and play the game with the tools set before her? And like, I think Game of Thrones does that so well. It's like, look, these are our heroes, but life isn't easy for them right now based off of their gender, their physical capability, their race, what have you. So what's the most realistic badass way that this person can go from being oppressed to being like the number one stunner? You know what I mean? And like, I think that's what one thing this series does amazingly. So I just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, totally agree. That's it. Sansa. I think she's great. I started watching best Sansa moments on YouTube. And Dany moments. Dany has the great moments, but Sansa.
Her when she, like, I remember like not even cheering, just like, yes, when she got back to what is homeboy who lost Battle of the Bastards name?
Ramsay.
Ramsay. When she fed him to his own dogs, and like that, I forgot what she said. She said something about like the loyalty of his dogs or something, but like, and she just watched. She's like, no. She's just like looking at things,
watching. And you just hear like gross wet sounds.
Yes. Yes. I would argue that was one. I mean, we'll talk about it, but that was one of the most satisfying moments I ever had watching Game of Thrones, is watching Sansa just like stare as Buddy gets like chewed up by his own dogs. And yeah, that shows how dark we all are as a society. I know. That I was just like, good.
Yes. Sansa has one other moment, and maybe y'all can remember. I feel like there's a moment where she's with Littlefinger, and like she says something, and Littlefinger is like, "Oh, I no longer can control you. You're on a whole nother level now." And I cannot for the life of me remember that, but like he was just like, I gotta figure this out. I can no longer just like put my little fingers like play Sansa Stark.
I don't remember what that was. That might have been, I guess, when they're going to the Vale, and he was like, "Yeah, I gotta. She got to get got." But Mark, how about you? Favorite Game of Thrones character?
Oh man, this Nels, man, I can't believe. Like, all right. I'm going to go through my honorable mentions because, Nels, I have the same answer as you. It's Tyrion is my favorite character, right? And I'll go into a little bit of why he's my favorite. But my honorable mentions, and it was so hard. Bronn, my dude Bronn, one of my favorite characters. Brienne, like just her whole story. That actress, I forget her name, but like every time she was on screen, she just like crushed it. Every single time.
Mark, not to interrupt you, but I gotta say this. Yeah. She would have been my favorite character. She made, like, I love Brienne of Tarth. Like, I thought the world of her. She was great. Even her randomly killing Stannis, even though we don't really know if she randomly killed Stannis or not. I was with every decision that she made. Her and Arya kind of becoming like best friends. Like, but her one flaw was falling for Jaime and trusting Jaime. And not because it was anything wrong with her, but Jaime. I mean, whatever. This is actually more of a reflection of how I feel about Jaime and not Brienne, because I am a huge Brienne. She's actually one of my favorite characters. So sorry, Mark.
No, you
great.
You can't,
really Jaime.
You can't blame her. Like, she was having these identity and image issues her whole life, and then the like coldest, baddest knight in the kingdom is like feeling her. So like, you can't you can't fault the girl.
I really can't.
But I just want to add my boy Sam. Sam came in for the win a couple times. And then Arya, man, like Arya's whole journey. She was another one where I was like, oh, come on, Arya, just stop Scooby Dooing it all. She was such a Scooby Doo character in the beginning, like getting into things and hiding. I'm like, stop, just listen, Arya. just listen. Stop getting into stuff. Like she was always Scooby doing it, but like she really.
Hold on. How did you think of Scooby Doo?
Love it.
Because like they're always
perfect.
Like,
but like, how did your mind get there?
Just because they're always like into stuff. There's what's that over there? Like, just do what you're supposed to do, and then go home.
It's very like Harry, Ron, and Hermione. It's like
yes. It's always you three. It's like always Arya's always into some shit. Like just like.
Did the thought of like the random face mask being pulled off like? Was that correlated in your Scooby Doo thought process?
You know what it always meant? Since a kid, I've never liked the like hitchhiking stowaway kid trope where it's like, okay, we gotta go to Cybertron and defeat Megatron. What's this? Oh, Optimus, I hid in the compartment. Or like, I've never, even as a kid, I was like, no, that's stupid. Like, why would you be there? Like, you're ruining the whole mission. And I just got that energy from Arya in the beginning of a Game of Thrones, just like, but that's a personal thing. I just never liked that whole like kind of energy that like they wrote for like kid characters. But yeah, man, Tyrion, dog, like this show made Peter Dinklage one of my favorite actors. Like, I mean, you've seen him a couple things. He had that like funny moment in Elf. He's been in a lot of stuff, but like, yeah, after this show, like season like 2, 3 of this show, I'm like, this dude is one of my favorite actors of all time. He probably has like some of the best speeches of the series, arguably. And then he's so smart and just so, he's another character where he's like, I've been given these circumstances, I've been given these disadvantages, but I'm gonna play this game. Like, I'm gonna play this game how I know how to play it. And he's so good at what he does. He's just it's good. He's a good, competent character. And if he wasn't a dwarf, like he'd be the king. He'd be the king because like and even his father knew that too. His father was like, man, if I could just switch your mind with Jaime's body, I would have the perfect son. That's how Tywin felt, but he just never could like
think about that for a second. Jaime's body with Tyrion's mind.
It's a dangerous combination.
He'd probably be what Robert Baratheon was in the beginning of like this rebellion, like the all-star menace that anyone and everyone wants to follow.
There'd be no show because like anytime he'd handle it, he's like, well, I gotta handle this.
He'd win the game.
Yeah. What? She's got dragons? She's no. Gotta.
We should probably be friends with her. She got dragons. That's probably what he said.
Exactly. Let me propose marriage.
But yeah, man. I just Tyrion, like, for the win. Even in the decline of the series, he still had some like amazing moments. So he's my favorite character.
Great. I'm about to ask another really hard question. And so I'm not going to ask what is your all-time favorite moment of Game of Thrones, because I think that's actually extremely unfair. But I will try to ask you all to limit and think about what are some of your favorite all-time moments and even episodes of Game of Thrones. And Alice, we'd love for you to start.
Oh boy, this one's hard, but I did come prepared. Okay. And it does trace back to Sansa. So I'm gonna just give you my honorable mention moments and then go back and go to my number one. So I have Joffrey's murder. I mean, I don't think a nation cheered so hard as much as it was like watching Americans play in the Olympics. I mean, everybody wanted the murder of a child to happen. And when it happened, we rejoiced. And for one moment in time, there were no Republicans or Democrats.
Good.
Believed in science.
Good.
We were all sick. We're all just sick in the head at the moment. I heard my next door neighbors cheering when Joffrey died. That's how I knew it was real. Like everybody was cheering.
Then, I'm sorry, I'm gonna keep going.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say, when Joffrey died, there was plenty of people like kind of angry crying at the TV, like that's what you.
They Van Jones.
They did the Van Jones. Today was an answer. Today was an answer. A call to action.
Oh my God. And then my next one's just anytime dragons were involved, when they were born, when they burned down the slave masters, when they take back Marine, like when the dragons do anything, just like you're so jazzed and pumped up for Dany. A Battle of Winterfell's on my second best, okay, because I have another battle in mind. But Battle of Winterfell just felt like Avengers Assemble. It was like so great. Also, that like Ocean's 11 episode when they go above the wall. I call it the Ocean's 11 episode. So it's like they get the band of brothers. They're like, we're going north. We're gonna get a wildling. We're gonna like you guys.
It was a zombie heist.
I got issues with that episode. I remember. I'm not trying to steal your thunder or nothing, but that episode was the first episode of Game of Thrones that like made me angry because I was just like, this is the stupidest plan ever created.
Absolutely. Was it dumb? Yes. Did I have fun? Yes. We had a good time.
Respect.
Just watching our favorite guys, just a group of dudes casually going up north. So just Jamie when he loses his hand.
Alice, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt too because that was the return of the Baratheon. What's his name? He was in Skins. What's that guy's name?
Oh, Gendry. Yep. Yeah,
Gendry.
Yeah.
Like Gendry was on a boat, gone for like 2-3 seasons.
Gone.
Next thing you know, Davos goes, grabs him, and he's like, I'm ready. I have this axe or hammer or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fully trained. I'm one of the best people in Westeros. And yes, I am fully capable of going with Jon Snow, the Hound, and some of the other most badasses people in all of Westeros, and I can hold my own. Like, what was this man doing in the slums of King Landing?
He was in the gym.
Yeah, straight up. He was getting after it. Like, yo, I gotta fight some zombies in a couple years. I need to get after it. Anyways, Alice, sorry.
And then, I already said Battle of Winterfell. Jamie loses his hand. He just became a different person after that, which is what the person we needed. And then Arya. So Arya kills a lot of people, but I personally liked when she kills Sir Meryn Trant, which is when he was in like a brothel in Bravos, and she's like kind of like sneaky, being one of her sneaky characters, and
Scooby doing it around.
and he's like whipping like underage girls for pleasure, and he gets to her, and she's like, "No, I'm gonna kill you," and she kills. And I just was like, this is such a breakthrough for her in a scary way, because we were, again, the same way we cheered for the death of a child, we cheered for a child to murder, and it just makes you question like your own morals. But we cheered, and so my number one moment episode is Battle of the Bastards. You watch it, is a movie, is film. You see like the dirt on Jon Snow's face. You see like Sansa like the victim. I mean, just even Ramsay pushing, oh my God, baby Stark. I can't remember. Just like out there, and you're like yelling at him to zigzag, and then he's
run, fool, serpentine,
crossover. What are you doing? We learned those drills in football. How are you running a straight line, bro? Like left, right. What's wrong with you? I'm still mad about him.
I'm still mad that Jon fell for it, because he ran towards, and then they just messed up the whole strategy, and Sansa saved the day. And that's it. That's my top. I mean, there's so many more, but I'll let you guys go, because I could keep going.
Nels, do you want to go or should I go? Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna try to keep this tight, and because it's just this show just has so many good moments, but a lot of my favorite moments come down to like battle episodes. So some of my non-favorite battle moments is Tyrion's speech at the Blackwater, like his like rally speech, like those are brave men, let's go kill them. Like I'm like, yeah. Like, um the hold the door, dog. Like,
Wow.
yeah, I don't think I've been so like shocked and heartbroken at the same time. I was like, oh my God, hold the door. Like, I remember my wife and I watching that, and we were just silent, and we just looked at each other like, did what just happened actually happen? Um, and then a little funny moment. I love the like when John and Danny first meet, and like this is Mother Dragons and all these titles, and Davos like, well, this is Jon Snow.
Love that one.
He's like, yep,
that's my
Jon
homeboy
Snow.
over there. He from round the way.
Yep, he's pretty good. He's pretty.
He good people. He good people. We go
people.
back a little bit.
Brienne getting knighted. Love that. That's probably one of the best moments in the last season. Her being knighted is so, and everyone's there. Tyrion's there, and then homeboy who's like has a crush on her is there, and he's like, yeah, he's like clapping. That's one of my favorite moments. But then real quick, all right, Blackwater, just like so dope. So many that moment episode is so good because I don't know who I want to win. Like I just don't want anyone to get hurt. I'm like, okay, y'all fight, but don't hurt anybody. You know, because you want what was it, Davos? Not Davos, Rob's brother.
He was Robert Baratheon. No, Stannis.
Stannis, yeah. Like, oh, this guy, you know, he'd make a good king. And you want Tyrion to like keep everyone safe. So Blackwater, hard home. The episode where John's going to go get the wildlings and the Night King shows up. Dog, that episode ends when the Night King just raises the dead that have died, and then they hold John just watching it, and it comes this wide shot, and you just see like the added to his army, and then the episode cuts to credits, but all you still hear is the water. For the rest of the end credits, it's just the water of the lake. That just like amazing. Battle of the Bastards, like that. I'll plant the flag. Battle of the Bastards is one of the greatest TV things ever created. Like it's one of the greatest episodes of television ever created. I'll just say that. There's so like you know, you already touched on it. There's so many good things in the episode, so I'm not gonna like say no more. And then lastly, the spoils of war, because we finally get to see what like an army with dragons like will do in this world. And like, dog, I love like it. One, the episode looks amazing. The dragons, like the CGI looks great. It's so many great like practical explosions. The Dothraki, like you get to see them in their element, like doing the thing. And it's another one of those things where like, well, I want Danny to win, but I don't want Jamie to die. And my dude Bron's there, like, oh, what's going on? Like, come on, everyone, just get away, get away. And I love like after the episode's over, Jamie's like, yo, we can't win, dog. He's like, no,
yo, it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
He's like, no. He's like, you don't understand. He's like, we can't. He's like, our soldiers can't even beat the Dothraki. He's like, we can't hang with them. He's like, we gotta like either like give up or change. Like you and me need to run away. He's like, this ain't winnable. Like, and so that was just all that buildup. You know, dragons. The dragons are coming. The dragons are coming. I promise they're coming. You haven't even bought the pizzas, but. Sorry, little South Park Easter egg, but you know the dragons are coming, and then we get to just see what a force the oh my god, what is the Targaryens had, you know,
The
it was
Unsullied,
just
Unsullied.
and the Unsullied, like that was amazing. So
Yo,
those are my
like,
favorite
it
moments.
legit, Mark, just to go back to that moment, to talk about Danny in relation to Spades. Danny had the big Joker, the little Joker, the king, the queen, the ace, the deuce, Joker, however you play it. She had the Joker deuce, and the other deuce. She had the entire suite. She had the Cosbys. Like, she had all the black spades. And I was just like, yeah, she's going to win. She's going to win. Anyways, y'all named all of my favorite stuff. And like, just so you all know, yes, my favorite episode of all time of Game of Thrones is Battle of the Bastards. Just to name like the one thing that y'all didn't name, but I know you all love as well. When Jon finally gets through the gate and Ramsay is still being a punk, trying to shoot Jon with the arrows, and Jon just has the shield like, all right, what you gonna do? Okay. And then when he finally gets to him and just punches, like, I don't know if Kit Harington was acting at that moment or he really just got his beef with brother. Cause like, it looked like he was really punching him and like, just like ferociously punching the life out of him. I kid you not. That's one of the best episodes of TV I've ever watched. The one other thing I'll add is Tyrion's speech at his trial. That is on the level. We just had the Jay-Z episode. That is his takeover. That is his ether. Like, he read the entire Lannister clan and all of like King's Landing. He told them about themselves.
Have you nothing to say in your defense?
Nothing but this. I did not do it. I did not kill Joffrey, but I wish that I had. Watching your vicious bastard die gave me more relief than 1,000 lying whores. I wish I was the monster you think I am. I wish I had enough poison for the whole pack of you. I would gladly give my life to watch you all swallow it.
Sir Meryn! Sir Meryn, escort the prisoner back to his cell.
I will not give my life for Joffrey's murder, and I know I'll get no justice here, so I will let the gods decide my fate. I demand a trial by combat.
And was like, and by the way, guess what? I know this loophole because y'all dumb folks don't know that there's a loophole. I'm going to request a battle for someone to represent me. So, y'all can't trial me. I'm not going to jail. Y'all can't kill me. Like, I just loved how he ethered the entire Capitol with just words. Like, he had them all on their knees with just words. It was dope.
When he's like, I didn't kill Joffrey, but I wish it was me. He's like, I wish I did it. Like,
I wish I was the monster y'all wanted me to be. Like, oh man.
Wow, you just reminded me of something that wasn't on our list, but it was Oberyn's battle or the trial by combat, where I could not watch.
Yes, can we get into like the things real quick that we didn't list but
please.
Are still?
Yeah, Gert, let's think about it.
Yes.
Oberyn's death. Oh my God. Anything to do with Bran? Like, he made such big like revelation, like him just discovering, what is it? It's R plus L equals J. So Rhaegar plus Lyanna is Jon Snow. Like, the discovery of Jon Snow's parentage. That's huge. That's definitely something like book readers just wanted for so long.
We're going to ask you this question later, but I'm just curious, since you brought it up, does the books hint that Jon Snow is a Targaryen?
Yes.
Like, is it like a little more obvious or?
No.
Like what?
I felt like an idiot. Like, I was like, basically the producers of the show talked to George, I'm just going to call him George. And he was like, if you can tell me read the first book and tell me Jon's mother, then I'll let you make the show. And you can, apparently all the clues are in the first book. I didn't catch that, but yeah, the producers were like, oh yeah, it's Lyanna Stark. And so, yeah, it's in there. And that's like definitely not up for debate.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, I know.
But does it make it
I didn't
obvious
get
that what's his name? Rhaegar is the dad?
Yes. Because it's common knowledge that like, so basically in the book, and they do it in the movies too, that like there's two versions of this story, that Rhaegar abducts Lyanna and kidnaps her and rapes her. And so to the world, that's their truth. But the truth is they were actually in love. They had this secret marriage, and Jon is like legitimate. That's the show. Yeah. But even in the book, you're like, there could be two versions to the story.
I got a question. Was her, I don't know if they were married or set to be married, was her relationship with Robert
real?
Good? Like, was it real good? And she was just like, I don't know, homeboys, like kind of really. Because in the show, it seems like Robert like was deeply in love with her.
Yes, he was. Like, they grew up together, sort of thing. Like childhood, friends, and like Robert and Ned were best friends, and so they were betrothed. Like they were like promised to each other. But I don't think there's any hint of like Lyanna returning that love to him. So I mean, Robert is just basically holding on to this like idyllic woman, and that he had to fight. He had to start a war for.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Cersei his backup.
But yeah, I mean,
Cersei always got to feel like number two. She feel like Kelly Rowland.
And
Cersei the Kelly Rowland of Westeros.
Feel bad for Cersei.
Let's just talk about a huge one we didn't talk about, the Red Wedding.
Oh god.
Like,
because we all want to forget it.
I don't think I remember watching that and just being like, no, what is happening?
Like, wait, hold on. you're trying to talk to the folks on the screen. Like, yo, hold on. No. Okay. You got the wife, you got the baby. Maybe the wife's gonna be okay. Oh no, you're gonna keep stabbing her. Okay, maybe she's not okay. All right, well, at least Rob's gonna be fine. Oh, okay, there's Rob.
I thought at least
at least Catelyn's
it, and then they cut her throat at the end, and I was like, why? Like, why would you do this?
It's so extra. They didn't have to go there.
They did it. Oh, that's
yeah, that was rough. I that wasn't a good night's sleep after that episode, because I was just like, well, no, and it just kept going. It wasn't good.
That was one of those I knew was coming. So I was a book reader. I had to shut my mouth.
Man, it's so devastating. But
we didn't mention Ned's beheading, did we?
No. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm gonna say, like, I think that's probably the most. If you look back in like pop culture history or whatever you want to call it, I think that is the most important moment in Game of Thrones history, as far as the show, because that just let everyone know, like, here's your main character. Yeah, get it. Oh no, Ned. Okay, he's gonna make it. And then like, hey, we just killed your main character. See you next season. And like, I don't remember a show ever doing something like that. Like, maybe y'all, like, I don't remember any show like having you follow a character for a whole season and then kill them and just be like, see you next year, folks. And so I think that just set the tone for what the show could be, because no one was safe. And I think that was some of the appeal of Game of Thrones. Like Walking Dead, for the most part, you're like, okay, maybe Rick is going to be safe, and Michonne, but everyone else, I don't know. But like Game of Thrones, like anybody was fair game. Anybody.
Facts. And like, man, do you know how much you gotta trust the other actors? Like, you just got rid of the most, like, the big name of the show. Like, he's gone, and so you're putting a lot of faith in Robb Stark. You're putting a lot of faith in like everybody else to like just hold up the show, because you just got rid of your number one star.
Even like Kit Harington and the girl who plays Dany, like, y'all gonna have to carry a lot of weight.
Yeah,
they're all children. They're all like
down the line. And then how many how many lines does like Jon have in season 1? He's like, oh, do what your father tells you. Okay, I'm going to the wall now. Like And then it's like, okay, we're gonna lay the whole foundation of the show on the back of this actor. See you in 3 years, kid. We'll keep up with you. Like,
Yeah, same with like Alice, you said it. Same with like Danny, like Amelia Clark, I believe her name is. Like, y'all casted her. Did y'all know she is about to be like, she's gonna have to be an icon? You have like, I don't know how old she was at the time, but it's like you're about to make one of the most biggest badasses ever. And she got to do that in about 2 years. Like, how do you get ready for that? Like, that's, I don't know. That's fascinating.
Yeah. I was like, who is the show about if we don't have Ned? But
I remember after that moment, this is about 10 years ago, Alice, I either text or called you because I knew you started reading the book. And I was like, so how does Ned come back? Like, does he come back from the dead? Is his head attached? Like, so how is Ned coming
like
back?
a White Walker.
complete denial. He's like, so does it grow back? Does the head grow back? Like,
Yeah, I was just like, how was it fake? Like, I think I caught, no, it might have been that night because I was like, yo, so like it looks really real, like it happened, but like it couldn't have happened.
Nels,
So, what happened?
Nels, I have this image of you like just being like George Costanza's parents. Like, why would they do that? Like, does they cut off his head? Did it grow back? Like,
Yep, that was me. You described it perfectly. That was me. All right, are we ready to move on?
Yep.
It's not getting any easier, by the way. So before we jump into the very, very tricky questions, Alice, this is like your time to shine.
Oh,
I am so curious, when you, as someone who has read the books and seen the shows, are there like some things from the books, like just like some key differences that you're like, yo, I can't believe they didn't put this in the show, or some things in the show that are like, yo, I can't believe they did it this way. That's not what was in the book.
Yeah.
Like, what were some of the contrasts that like you really noticed that either you were really happy that they made or like confused that they didn't add parts?
Okay, I got a list. I'll keep it tight. But there's a lot. These books are like 600 pages long, and there's like 5 of them. So there's a lot. First, one of the biggest ones she's called Lady Stoneheart, and she is a resurrected Lady Catelyn. And Lady Catelyn, after the Red Wedding, she's murdered. They throw her into the river, and the same dude who always resurrects Beric Dondarrion, Thoros of Myr. So he's like one of the guys in the Ocean's 11 episodes. They pull her out of the river and they resurrect her. And so she is like a zombie of herself, and all she wants is revenge. So she is like, she just like she gets like a group of kind of like a Robin Hood's Merry Men type of thing. And they're just like killing a bunch of Freys and in the Riverlands. So it's in the book. Lady Catelyn Stark rises again, but she is like a complete monster, basically.
Does she like know that she's Catelyn Stark still?
Yeah, and she wants vengeance. But
so, do any of the other Stark kids see her again?
No, I don't know. And nobody knows. Yeah, no.
George R. Martin is a monster.
And still has like her throat cut. So she's like, that's the thing. She's like a zombie of herself. She still has like an open throat. Like, gross.
Oh my God, why?
I know.
Why?
They didn't put it in because they did put the other guy coming back to life a lot, but they didn't want to keep bringing up that like other people could be resurrected, because then it would take away the shock value of Jon being resurrected later. So, and then you would never think, you would be like, oh, anybody can come back. And then the Dorne world. So you guys remember like the Sand Snakes was like basically the only brown people in the show.
Yes.
Then there's like the cow world, but like
we know them fondly. The melanated, yes.
The melanated, yeah. There's like very exotic catch-all group of people. So they're a lot cooler in the book. So that's like Oberyn has like 6.
Hold on, Alice. Hold on. You said they were cooler in the book? They were pretty damn cool in the show.
I just felt like the service wasn't there. They were a disservice.
I'm with Alice on this. Like they did cool stuff, I think, in the show, as characters, I don't know. They're just kind of like
The brother almost took down the mountain with a
No,
staff.
but
not
we're talking-
Oberyn,
I'm talking about his daughters.
the Sand Snakes.
Oh,
Sand
okay.
Snakes.
Gotcha,
So like that
gotcha,
whole country, he's from country. Like he called it a separate country. They just have like a different way of like doing things. Like women and men are equal. Women inherit like titles equal to men, and like they don't treat their bastards like garbage. Like all of Oberyn's bastard daughters, they're like 6 of them. They're called Sand Snakes, and they have power, and they're like not. Nobody like treats them differently, so they're just like cool. They're just cooler. They're just badass, and it didn't translate. Then everybody's age. Everybody's so much younger in the book. So Dany's 13 when it starts. Sansa and Joffrey are also like 13. Arya's 9. Jon's 16. Like Missandei, like Dany's best BFF, she's like 10. Yeah, so they definitely like aged, and I thought it worked better. It was better. I don't want to see like a bunch
I
of
don't know. I can't. No, I
Yeah.
can't see 10-year-olds. I just can't. So they did good on the show.
Yeah. Then they also brought in the books. There's like a lot of other people fighting for the throne. There's like hidden heirs, and that wasn't. I mean, it just gets to like too many players. Like Rhaegar Targaryen has a son that they tell you in the show and in the books that he was killed as a baby. Like Robert Barack, or was the mountain that kills him. Apparently he's still alive, comes back at some point and tries to like claim the throne. My biggest pet peeve with the show and the books is what they did to Sansa. So Sansa never marries Ramsay. She never makes it back to Winterfell. She's hanging out in the Eyrie. So she never gets married to Ramsay. She never gets raped. She never sees Theon again. Like that is a completely different person's storyline in the book. So they merged her and they did that to her. So that's why it's like people were outraged that Sansa, it was like Sansa didn't have to get raped.
Yeah, and I remember when this happened, there was a lot of that going on. People were like, why, like, it's like exploitation. Like we did, and I totally get it. It's like you didn't need that to understand what she was going through. Exactly. It could have been implied, you know. It's like she's basically had to marry the biggest psychopath in this terrible world. I think we get it, you know. Yeah. And now let me ask you this: if as a book reader, hold on, no, real quick, as a book reader, if that didn't happen to her, do you think that storyline could have still worked?
No, they had to merge the characters. It was just too many characters. So
Gotcha.
Like in the book, it's one of her childhood friends it happens to. So what they do is they get this girl who we haven't seen in like a long time, and they tell the world she's Arya. And they're like, this is Arya Stark now. And she takes on Arya's identity and marries Ramsay. And it's a mess. Like you had to do it. Like you had to consolidate basically. But
so hold on, Alice. You're telling me in the book, Sansa doesn't get with Ramsay. So they made it so that Sansa ends up being with 2 of the worst men in all of the Game of Thrones series history. Like, because she was with Joffrey, an abusive dude. I don't know if Joffrey raped her, but damn near abused her in every way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Physically.
And then they put her with Ramsay.
Yeah.
But they didn't really have to. So was she like a badass, like in the books, like a mental strategist? Like was she getting there in the books?
Getting there.
Okay.
She's hanging out with Littlefinger right now in the Eyrie. So do you remember the scene where he pushes her aunt out the moon door?
Yes.
He's like, push. And So that happened. And I think that's like where we are with Sansa. And so she like dyes her hair. She's like hidden. He's like hiding her safe. And then and like giving her a new identity. And Littlefinger is getting her married to like some other dude. So that's where they are. But like she has not been violated. And so she was like already a woman scorned. We didn't need to scorn her even more. Like she already had fuel.
Yeah. She had to watch her dad be decapitated.
Yeah, her brother.
And not react.
Yeah.
Yep. And that Sansa, she had a cold moment where she was about to take herself and Joffrey out. And the Hound saw it. He's like, whoa, hold up, you bleeding. Yeah. He was like, you bleeding, girl. She was ready. Like Sansa, dog, she's a real one because she was like, all right, well, this is how you gonna roll. Me,
everybody gonna die.
It's everybody's problem tonight, yo.
Yeah.
I choose violence.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's Sansa's thing. And then in the book, Arya has little magic. Like she wargs the same way Bran can go into his wolf. She can too. She just doesn't know it. And then John can too. And then in the Red Wedding, Rob's wife does not attend. So that whole like murder wife and murder baby, that's extra. That was shock value. They didn't have to do that.
So does she just go into hiding in the books, or
yeah? She just becomes like a non-character anymore.
So there's just this other Stark,
and she's not pregnant.
Cousin?
Oh, she's not pregnant in the book.
No, she's not.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
They're just like, yeah, you can just go off to pasture.
They had her pregnant and then get stabbed in the gut in the book, in the movie, or in the show for no reason.
Yeah,
like they added that.
Yeah, they added that.
What the hell is wrong with these guys? Yeah,
I rewatched before we recorded tonight. I rewatched the Red Wedding scene because I hate myself. But that scene where she gets stabbed, specifically her, is so horrifying because the guy comes from behind her and just starts stabbing her stomach. But if you look at her, she's like looking at Rob like, he's stabbing my stomach. It's like she's not even like acknowledging her own like taking on damage. She's just like, Rob. I was just like, oh my God, this is awful. It was awfully like devastating, like cinematic stuff.
I don't know why you do that to yourself.
Yeah,
it's been years. I was like, because like I have not gone back to the Red Wedding since I watched the series. Matter of fact, I actually skipped it when I rewatched the series. I was like, I've seen it. I don't need to see this. But I was like, it's been what, 6, 7, 8 years? I can rewatch this. And like, nah, it's too soon. Don't rewatch it.
No. Okay, I'll keep going through my list. Almost there. There is this 2 prophecies that they don't really address at all in the show. One is Cersei. One of the reasons why she hates Tyrion so much, actually, I think they did put it in the show, is she gets this prophecy that she is going to die by the hand of her little brother. And so all her life, she like hates Tyrion because she thinks he's going to be the one that like will kill her one day. But there's this theory that like Jaime is her little brother too, because they're twins, but she was born first. So there's this also like he's up also into play to be able in the books eventually, I guess, kill her. And then there's the whole prince that was promised idea. So the Red Woman is like all about this prophecy of like Azor Ahai. And so in the books, you either think it could be like anybody could be this like hero, you know, there's always like that hero in fantasy that's like the one. And it's either Dany or it could be Jon. So there's that in the book. So that's a lot. That's like something a lot of people are looking forward to.
Is there any other candidates for Azor Ahai? Did I say it right?
Yeah, Azor Ahai. I think like Tyrion could also be a candidate, but that's all I can't remember. I'm sure there's like a long list, and I'm sure all the maesters
so like the 3
of the world
big
are going to come for me.
Yeah, like the internet will come for you. Yeah. But the 3 big old main characters like Dany, Jon, and Tyrion could all be the prince that was promised.
Yeah, and then there's some characters in the book that like wish they were.
But, can I ask? I want to ask 2 questions. One, is there anything you think that the show did better? And then the second question, when it comes to like the image you got like in your mind reading, like did the show match that? Is there anything you're like, yep, that's how I saw Tyrion, or that's how I saw Dany? Is there anything like that happened when you were reading these books and watching the show?
I don't know, because the show came first, so I didn't have that. Like, I didn't have to build the imagination. But I think that the show did well. I hope. I mean, I kind of. It's like the first half of Danny. The show did better of Danny's thing. I liked the actress they got. I like that they aged her up and like all of that. Because like right now in the book, she's like hanging out in Marin, and you just kind of like, what are you doing there? You're kind of like you kind of root for her, and then you realize, like looking back, like my 34-year-old self, you're like, are you a colonizer? Like what? Like what are we doing?
Is she Scooby Dooing around too? Is it?
Yeah, you took over this country, and you're just kind of like, what do we do now? Like you don't know how to actually. I don't know. I just thought the show was better. It gave her like.
She's being a white woman.
Yeah,
there you
totally.
go.
She's like, things are entitled to me because I have a last name.
Well, there was that whole thing, you guys, when she set those slaves free. The show got a lot of flack about like a lot of like white savior imagery and stuff, and that was happening for a while. It's like, yeah, you got all these brown people, and they're just kind of just in love with this one white woman, like like they kind of have no agency or anything going on. But shout out to
I will say that is true. The one and there is of course there is some themes of that just comes through living in a white supremacist society. But I will name the sister got dragons.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie.
Sister got dragons.
No, like what would be the like equivalent of our time, Danny, like showing up with dragons? I don't know, Taylor Swift.
Like
I tell you, if Taylor Swift had dragons, my view of her would be very different.
I'm gonna listen to what she has to say. She's got dragons, so I'm gonna listen. I owe her that. I'm gonna listen to what she has to say.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like rewatching an episode in prep for this, and she kind of like has that whole "I want to break the wheel" thing and like make this place a better place, blah blah blah. So you can get behind that in the show. I don't know if I don't remember if she has that kind of vision in the book.
We've all wanted a Charmander so we can eventually have Charizard. We've all tried to get a Dragonair. Like we have all pursued dragons in some way, shape, or form. So you telling me this person is showing up with dragons? 3 of them, real life, real deal Holyfield dragons? Yeah, I'm probably gonna vote for you.
Yeah, I want to ask you both a question. Are these the coolest dragons in pop culture? Like brought to like life. I would say the only competition is Smaug in the Hobbit movies, but are these like the dopest dragons we've ever seen on like film or TV before?
I'm gonna vote. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking Harry Potter, and those are just for show. I mean, well, that for dragon did get them out of Gringotts, but like, Pete's a happy dragon.
Yeah, Pete ain't breaking the wheel for. Come on, Pete. Like that ain't happening. But I just think like on screen, like just the sheer
does the Dragonzord not count?
Nah, that's a robot. That's a giant robot. Man.
You're right.
Yeah,
you're right. Then yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah, they just like the sheer like power that they translated with these things is amazing.
Yeah, that's
Serpentina. Serpentina is also a robot, right?
Serpentina,
Lord Zed's giant dragon.
Power
Rangers.
Yeah, that's a robot. But dang,
that's if Serpentina wasn't a robot, then Serpentina is my answer.
I forgot all about. Yeah, nah, that's a robot. She's a robot. She's a she too.
Alice, we're talking Power Rangers. I don't know if you go that far back.
Pass. Next.
All right. We'll move on. Okay, so we're getting towards the end. Straight up gonna ask you, how would you end Game of Thrones? We've kind of danced around this, but George R.R. Martin, one, has 2 more books. George R.R. Martin is very old. And so we're hoping and praying for, prosperity in his life and for him to hurry up and finish the 6th and 7th book. And then David Benioff and D.B. Wise got a lot of grief because Game of Thrones didn't really necessarily end on a high note to the fans. Like it kind of, it left folks with a sour taste, which has left drastic impressions on the series as a whole. So now with, just flexing your creativity with your knowledge and understanding of the show, and let's say you had an unlimited, unlimited budget and everybody didn't have any other movies or shows that they had to attend. So you had time to actually like use the cast the way you want. How would you have ended Game of Thrones?
I don't know. This is a very tough question. And this is something I would have wanted to have to do. You have like this man's notes and his books to go by, and then it's like, yeah, I don't got any more books, so like I don't know, figure it out. I'll just say this. I think the way they ended Game of Thrones could have worked if they took more time. Like the whole like Dany is like secretly mad with power. That's personally I wouldn't have gone there. I think it's easy to be like, look at this crazy woman with power, but if they wanted to go that route, I think with more time and showing instances of her like kind of like being a little bit more sadistic, could have worked. Or they could have done something interesting where it's like, all Targaryens are mad. Like, well, no, maybe like their dad was, but maybe she is legit in like her anger and madness. So that's all I'm going to say, because I think you guys will have more interesting things to say. But I think like either another season or at least the last season, like maybe 4 more episodes, I feel like we would have been a little bit, not as hostile with the way the show ended.
I'll go. I like happy endings, so I'm gonna end it with like rainbows and happiness. So I'm okay. I'm gonna overlook Auntie Dany and like John, and I'm gonna like hook them up. And I was really infuriating that like throughout the whole season, like we've had seasons and seasons of arranged marriages, and nobody suggests that these two like get some rings. I don't understand it. And like, yeah, I don't know. He got on the dragon. Like, hello, like there is like. I think there was a match there. So I think I would have gone with the book prophecy, like Azor Ahai. So there's this idea that like he gets the sword, and in order to like defeat the Night King, he has to forge it in this flame. Blah, blah. There's just like this whole myth of it. And then he kind of unfortunately has to stab Dany with it. And then the sword gets all this power, blah, blah, blah. And then he can defeat the Night King. But that's kind of where I would have gone with it. And then definitely John gets a dragon, Dany gets a dragon, Bran gets a dragon, because Bran was supposed to fly and he didn't. And I don't accept that him getting into birds was like enough. I wanted him to warp into the dragon. And then Davos gets some nice property, seaside, he retires. And then Cersei dies at the hands of Jaime. It's a murder suey. He died, killed himself.
Why do you have a nickname for murder suicide? It's a murder suey. Like, I've never heard that before. She said it like it's a hip thing.
She said it like, I'm gonna little old murder suey up in there. Just a little bit of murder suey.
Oh God!
Not too much murder suey, just a little bit of murder suey.
A tidbit of murder suey, a dash of murder suey.
That's what I want for them. And then I want Arya to do exactly what she did. She just goes backpacking in Europe. And Sansa, exactly what just happened. She gets Winterfell. That's all.
I like that.
And Tyrion, I don't know. He gets Castle Walk. Right? He's happy too. Like I want happy endings for everybody except Cersei.
Yeah.
And Jaime.
I like a lot of things you said. The Bran, right? Warging into Bran. A dragon. That was something I was kind of hoping for, and then like I was really hoping for Jaime to take out Cersei. I thought he was gonna have to like. She was going to be like the new Mad King or Queen, and he was going to have to do the same thing to her. But we didn't get that. So
mine's very similar to yours, Alice. There was a dynamic that I actually was like really excited and interested in, which is, the leaders of all these like really powerful countries were led by women. And like, it was like not a thing in Westeros. So like you had Cersei, you had Dany, and you had Sansa running their respective superpowers. And like I feel like you could have just played that out for a while. Because I think Dorne was also women-led at the time too. Like there was just the veil, which I think was that Sansa still? Like she had
yeah. Her aunt was there, and then she got pushed.
I just feel like there was just that in itself could have just been like extrapolated more that like this is just a new generation of leadership in Westeros and like just playing that out for a while. I would have loved Dany to like just methodically take over Westeros like battle by battle. Like she just got back to what's it called? Storm's End. Storm something.
Yeah,
so
I
like
got it.
just to like methodically like show that this is not a game and none of y'all have a chance. Like I am just taking over everything. And the big thing that I wish happened, I wish Westeros, like King's Landing, like the Seven Kingdoms, all of that stuff was figured out. Like Dany and Jon got together. They, he turns out he's Rhaegar's son. They become like the joint kings and queens leaders of the country. And then we get the big ass battle with the ice zombies. Like, let's figure all that stuff out and then have the big battle with the ice zombies. And I want like the last battle, shout out to Chronicles of Narnia. Like, I want everybody coming back. I want Aslan there. Like, I want this to be a big old battle. And like everybody dies. And then we figure out at the end who's like, I want all the stuff in Westeros figured out. And then like carnage. And then we just like end with, I don't know, someone random like saying, okay, I guess I will be the ruler, like Arya. Like I thought that would have been a dope way to end it, because rushing the battle we've been waiting all along for, and then coming back, and then like Bron's story was not done. Like what? This man was like becoming a supercomputer and then like did nothing with it, was just like awkwardly in his room. Like that's not cool, man. Like anyways, I would have liked to figure it out Westeros, have that done, go into this big old battle, have a whole bunch of folks die. I still don't mind Arya's Dame Lillard ending to like the killing the Night King. That was fire, but I kind of just wish the order changed a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Seeing that last battle, Nels, the battle against the Night King ending at King's Landing probably would have been a good way to like have that fight. Like they get all the way to King's Landing, and that's where the last stand is.
Yep.
That's what I was hoping for too.
All right. One quick question, and then we'll ask the age-old question. Overall, how are you rating Game of Thrones? Like, where do you rank it in all of television shows? We mentioned how folks called this the greatest TV show of all time. Number-wise, it is arguably the greatest performing scripted television show of all times. But in your heart, where is Game of Thrones? I can start first. I'm not gonna lie. The way the show ended, it left a bad taste in my mouth. I mean, I was a huge Game of Thrones fan, and I was saying at the time, Game of Thrones is the greatest TV show ever. There's nothing better than Game of Thrones. And now I don't really know what to say. I don't it doesn't come up if someone asks me what's the greatest TV show of all time. I don't think Game of Thrones. Like I probably would name other shows. And I think that's unfair. Like I will name that's unfair because the way that I love this show for like those 7 seasons, like I shouldn't feel that bad about it based off of like 2 or 3 hours. But I do. And I think that's just like how much I disliked how the show ended. But yeah, when it comes to it now, I don't say it's like the greatest show of all time. Even though in like the middle of the series run, I was definitely saying it was the greatest show of all time.
All right. I'll go. So as our guest, you can bring us home. I'm gonna bounce back against you a little bit, Nels. I think no, this show did not stick the landing, but gosh, the ride there, the journey that this show took us on, like it was amazing. It was like this was one of those things where you had to be there. You had to be like, every episode, uh, getting on Twitter afterwards, getting like listening to podcasts afterwards, talking. This was a water cooler show. It's like, yo, did you watch Game of Thrones? Man, I can't believe this happened. Like this show gave me like 10 to 15 like amazing moments that I might get 3 from another like great TV show. And so I think like that alone, like it didn't stick the landing, but the journey is so good that yes, it is for me one of the greatest TV shows of all time. Does it have problems? Yeah, but like those first 4, dare I say 5 seasons, some of the greatest TV ever created. And who knows like what time will do, right? When Lost first ended, I was real iffy about the end of Lost. I rewatched Lost recently during lockdown. I love the ending of Lost now. And Lost was also another show that like they didn't stick the landing, but man, the journey there was like so much fun, so amazing. So I can't just bail out. That's too much goodwill for me to just like bail out on them and say that it's a horrible show. Not saying you say that, but like I can't just say that the show's terrible because of the last couple seasons. I think it is one of the greatest shows of all time. It has some of the greatest characters of all time, and it was just a cultural phenomenon. After this show ended, everyone tried to make their Game of Thrones. All the networks, all
including
the streaming
HBO.
services. Yeah, HBO's not done. We're going to get more Game of Thrones. Like Amazon is spending $10 million an episode on their Lord of the Rings series. Like, that's crazy. Like Game of Thrones, they were spending $10 million per episode. Like that's not done in TV. That's like that's a movie budget. That's like that's a Marvel movie budget when you break it down to like 10 episodes.
And so, just to like add, it was money well spent.
It was, and all the money well spent. Last cent is on the screen. Every last cent, like the petty cash, the milk money, it is all on the screen, So like I love this show. Do I wish things were different? Yeah, but like it will always have a special place in my heart.
Totally agree. We were kindred spirits because I loved Lost too. And I was like, you couldn't tell me it was a bad ending at the time. I was like, how dare you? I cried. So I'm a big Game of Thrones fan, but like it was tough. I mean, it was tough to defend. I agree. Like if we had more time, we could have gotten a better ending. We could have had justice for Dany. But I mean, like the journey is what it was. And it was like a phenomenon. Like you couldn't wake up on Monday and go to work. Like you had to watch the show on Sunday. And it's just, and like to say it was like must watch TV. We don't get that anymore. So it's definitely, I actually wrote in my notes, it was I couldn't put in my top 5, but now after doing this podcast, it's top 5 for me again. Cause I'm like, wait, it was so good. Like the joy and the rage that you had just from like watching a show. Like I had a heart attack. Like I'm just like, my heart's racing. Like we have to rewatch it. Mark, you said like you can see every dollar on the screen. I would agree with you, except for that Battle of Winterfell with Wolf Dark. Felt like we could have bumped up the saturation a bit. That was tough. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, what more can I say? It was like all time. I definitely have issues. I was mad with like Jamie when he goes back to Cersei at the end. I mean, all this growth for what, bro? Nothing. So, nothing. And then like my biggest, sorry, I'm just going to go like list my grievances. Other grievance, Jon's resurrection. It was like so great. We're like, yes, Jon is the one. He's going to do such great things. He's coming back for what? Bro, he was like, he's just a participant.
Yeah.
I guess hooking up with Dany.
He came back to,
he came back to hook up with Dany and Tyrion to be Scooby-Dooing around on the ship and see them and give them that evil.
What I need you to do is get on a dragon and practice some maneuvers. Okay. Facts. Like I need a Top Gun.
Like, was it supposed to be because I agree, Alice, but like, was it supposed to be like John's big thing was to kill Dany because Dany was going to be that big of a threat to Westeros? Like,
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Like it either.
But it was a great show, and we had fun. And I liked all the fan service. Okay, guys, I was here for it at the end when they kept giving me all the hits, and they're like all the kids reuniting. They're like, Sansa's reunited with John, John's reunited with Bran, and then you're like, yeah, it's just like loved it. And Arya with John. Oh my god, I was here for it. I was there for every corny fan service moment.
That was pretty dope. I ain't even gonna lie. I like that. I like that part too.
Yeah.
Y'all are warming me up. I'm feeling a little bit better about the show. All right.
It's the best.
I don't know if it's the best. But all right. So the age-old pop cult parent question. We all have children. I'm assuming in some way, shape, or form they're gonna know about Game of Thrones. But the question I have for you all is, are you going to introduce Game of Thrones to your kids? If so, how and why? Mark, you want to start us off?
Yeah. Dude, this is so hard for me because I tried to introduce Kosi to Shrek the other day and she wasn't having it. Like Shrek came out of that outhouse with the Smash Mouth playing. She's like, turn it off, Daddy. She's like,
so what got her? Was it Shrek coming out of the house?
No,
or was it Smash Mouth?
No, it made the Smash Mouth.
She was like, this ain't for me.
Turn it off. But no, I think just like Shrek, like the ogre, like just, so I'm like, man, if you can't handle Shrek, I know you're only a child, but God, but no. I don't know, man.
She's only 3, Mark.
She's only 3. So she ain't handling Game of Thrones. We know that. But like, I feel like this has the potential to be one of those shows that, like, I don't know, what are our kids going to be? I think they're like Gen Alpha or something like that is what they're calling them. You know how there comes moments where like the younger generations kind of rediscover these old shows. Like I think for us, we grew up with it, but there was like a kind of rediscovery with like Seinfeld and some of those sitcoms. I feel like this might happen with Game of Thrones, like especially if the books are finished. But part of me thinks like this might live in this time and it might just be what it was. And there's shows that we hear about like that have their place in pop culture history. Like this was the greatest show when it came out, but I don't think we're like rewatching them. So I don't know. It's really hard for me. I think if my kids are into fantasy, like growing up, I see them into fantasy and that kind of stuff, then maybe like this will be a natural like transgression. Like, hey, Uncle, you like Tolkien? Then me and your mom used to love this, and here's the books, and have at it. But I really don't know. I don't see. And there's just so much. The show is so long. There's so many characters. It's not like the Harry Potter movies where we could like have a marathon on the weekend and finish it, So I really don't know. If they're into it, I'm there with them. I will watch the whole thing with them. I'll be right next to them and like loving it. But I really can't say. It's hard to say.
I'll jump in. I'm going to say yes. Obviously not at this age. She's 7 months, but I'm going to say like later in life, if she's interested in fantasy and storytelling or just like any kind of like good entertainment, if she's like somebody who loves to watch movies, I'm going to try to get her into it. I'm going to tell her to stop watching after the Battle of Winterfell, like kind of cut it there and just pretend like everybody got us a happy ending. But I think it's a good show. It's a fantastic fantasy show and it works because it is a typical, not your typical fantasy, but it's like in this typical fantasy world of like kingdoms and princes and queens and blah, blah, blah. But it is told from the perspective of the powerless. And that is powerful. Like you relate to every single character, even freaking Cersei at one moment, you can relate to her being a mother who wants to protect her children. So you're rooting for these people who traditionally don't have power and they're trying to navigate a system. So there is such fantastic storytelling there. And that's why it's like going to just remain as like one of the best ones. So I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna introduce my daughter if she's into it. I'm gonna say, go, let's do it. Crank up the old TV, and I'll introduce you to this thing we call streaming. Because I don't know, by the time she's her age, she's gonna
Good
be
God,
like,
Alex. Crank up the old TV. Like, what is the future of like? Get the old can out and rub. Crank up the old TV.
Just play movies in your mind.
Just today, my husband was like, "Do you think she's gonna understand what a channel is?"
Wow.
And I was like, "Probably not."
I didn't even think about that.
Like, even if there are channels, like all these, everybody's gonna have a streaming service. Peacock. Do you watch? Have you seen Friends on Peacock?
No. Alice, first of all, like what you said was like genius. I never thought about it like that, but Game of Thrones does tell the story, a fantasy show that tells a story from the powerless, and they all find power in their own ways, and that's like beautiful to watch. It really is beautiful to watch. I think I will show Game of Thrones to my kids, or at least introduce it to them, if I find out they love fantasy. Like if they really like if they love reading the Chronicles of Narnia, if they like get really excited about like the Hobbit series and like they want to know about Tolkien, where I'm like, well, let me show you the greatest fantasy TV show ever. Like, here it is, enjoy it, you're going to love it. Like knock yourself out. I think if they didn't like fantasy, then it's like, if you want to know what was really hot at the time, like I may introduce them to you. But like my big takeaway from Game of Thrones is like, this may have been one of the last, I hope not, this may have been one of the last times that this generation is going to feel we are all sitting down and watching this show together and we're all reacting to it. Like, I don't know how many more of those moments are going to happen. Like the closest thing we kind of have to it is like a day long version of like, at some point, everybody within this next 24 hours is going to watch WandaVision, and then we're going to react to it later. But like, there's just something about like, we all know at 8:00, we are all watching this one show right now, Eastern Standard Time. Like, we all know that we're going to like be watching this show. And so I hope for that for Ian and Jaden, that they can have a moment of like knowing that we as a society are all watching this one thing and reacting to it. But I think it's more realistic that it's probably not going to be like that. And it's going to be like a day-long thing. So yeah, we'll see. But I want that for them because that's really fun. And I really enjoyed it while we did.
It was fun.
I think, no, you're absolutely right. I think the closest thing we get to that recently was maybe Squid Games. But then again, it's like you said, it's like a day or two. Like, you know, it's not like Game of Thrones was, 8 seasons, is 8 years of people like getting together at the same time on Sunday night to watch something, you know?
Yeah, like, I think, I don't know if it was Squid Games. I think the closest thing, honestly, was Mandalorian. Like, everybody watched Mandalorian, but it's like, you know, there wasn't like live reaction because you were spoiling it for some folks. Like, there was like a 24-hour grace period, and then everybody kind of went crazy. Like, I think that's the closest. I don't know. We'll see what happens in the coming years, but that's the closest thing. Yeah.
Controversial statement, hot take. I fell asleep a lot in The Mandalorian, and my brothers are very mad at me about it. It's
gasp.
That soundtrack. There's not a lot of dialogue, guys, and that soundtrack, just like that westerny. Yeah, no, it was soothing.
It's called a western. Okay,
it's a space western.
I'm familiar with
a space
genre.
western.
I believe the word you look for is western.
Alice, why didn't you like The Mandalorian?
Oh, now I regret giving you my hot take, but I liked it.
We had such a good conversation.
Just needed a lot of coffee.
No,
Bill Burr.
Alice,
Bill Burr.
Bill Burr. He had a mask on the whole time.
Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda. The Force. Rosario Dawson was in it.
Keep saying words. Hot words.
Gus was in it.
But, well, hey, Pedro Pascal.
Skyrocketed. He was in Game of Thrones. Alice, any last things you want to share
do.
before we close the episode?
I have other things I want to share. I have 2 things I want to share. I'm going to add to the list of things Nails introduced me to, pop culture wise. Yes, it was Nicki Minaj, but also Facebook. He was like, "Do you have a .edu email address? I'm going to invite you to this thing." He's like, "It's called Facebook." And I had just gone into college, and he was like, "You got your email address." So thank you for that, Nails.
Yes, when you got accepted to Virginia Tech, I was like, Alice, you need to jump on Facebook.
It's so dated.
That is
.edu to get on Facebook. I remember that. Oh my God.
These are moments in pop culture. Like, that was a big deal. And YouTube. Okay, YouTube.
I introduced you to YouTube?
You introduced me to YouTube, and you were like, "This is how you watch old episodes of X-Men."
I will gladly. I am so proud of myself that I taught you how to watch old episodes of X-Men.
Thank you.
I've redeemed myself.
Oh my God, I'm dying.
This one site that could connect millions of people and show you anything. Here, we're gonna watch old episodes of X-Men.
That's what it was for at the time. It was like, let's watch old bootleg things. Like this, none of this is legal.
Yo, Alice, no, you know what? I want to share my YouTube story. One time, and this was like, I think we were in college. I called Nels and our other friend, and I was like, "Hey guys, I just discovered that the first season of Digimon is all on YouTube." And I was like, I got myself a bottle from the ABC store, and I know what I'm doing for the rest of the night. Do with this information what you will. I'll see you later.
Alice, more context to this. We were planning to go out that night. So me and our other friend were talking like, what we could do this, we can go there. You know, it's Fairfax, Virginia. The world is our oyster. There's so many fun and extravagant things to do at night in Fairfax, Virginia. And so we called Mark, and Mark is like, "Y'all, Digimon is on YouTube. Y'all know what I'm doing for the rest of the night." And then he hangs up. And then me and the friend are like, "Damn, that sounds like a good night."
Oh, the internet.
Love that for you, Mark. I love that for you. Can I plug some fantasy, since this is the fantasy
please.
episode? I feel like my only chance, if for all the people listening, if you like fantasy and love Game of Thrones, I recommend The Witcher on Netflix. Season 1 was really good. Season 2 is coming in December. Binge that during the holidays. I really like The Expanse. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's like got a lot of seasons, similar to Game of Thrones. Just think of Game of Thrones in space. Okay, great. But then the characters are actually cool, and you're rooting for all of them. Foundation on Apple Plus. It's like a saga. It's like, I haven't even gotten through it, but it's a long tale, and apparently it's based on this fantastic book that was the predecessor to Star Wars, called Foundation. And then if you want a more of fun YA type tone, Shadow and Bone on Netflix. That's fantasy, pretty good. And then I'm gonna plug Outlander, because I think Outlander is also came. It was Starz was trying to do Game of Thrones, but love fantasy, and love fantasy that has consensual lovemaking. Always gonna root for that. And
always root for
Isn't
that.
there time travel in that too?
Yeah, it's time travel.
And time travel.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, and it's on Netflix. And then C, if you're not watching C on Apple, that was really good too. Fantasy, post-apocalyptic world.
My wife is a big fan of C. I think she's just a big fan of Jason, but she says she's a big fan of C. And I've seen the first season. I got to give it another shot for season 2. I love the premise. I'm just not a fan yet, but it's dope. There's the money is on the screen for that too. And I saw the trailer for Foundation. That looks really interesting. So I've been meaning to check that out. But if you recommend it, I'm definitely gonna put it on my playlist.
And I'll just double tap Witcher. Witcher is fantastic. It is a lovely watching experience. So kudos to do. I gotta check those other things out too.
Expanse is great too. We watched Expanse. You're right. It's Game of Thrones in space. Yeah.
Yo, if that's one hell of a commercial. Because space makes everything better, as I've said in many of these episodes, but I digress. Mark, anything you want to add?
All I want to say real quick is I was thinking about this show, And one thing that it does so well, two things. One, this thing does what I don't think a lot of Western television does, but anime does very well, is that you go from hating and loving characters within like an episode or a episode. Like, Alice, you were talking about Cersei. Like, there was times I was like, yo, yeah, go, Cersei, go. And then I'm like, wait, why am I rooting for this person? I hate you. So like that happens throughout the whole, like, I hated Jamie up until he got his hand cut off. And so like I don't know why Western television doesn't really nail that. Anime does it all the time. It's one of our favorite animes, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like that happens all the time in the anime.
Damn near every other episode. All right. First and foremost, Alessandra, my little sister, thank you so much for coming in.
You're welcome.
We appreciate you. We thank you. I still don't believe you're the age that you said you were in the beginning, so I'm still going to think in my mind that you're 26. You're forever going to be 26. Even though like you legit have a child now. No, in my mind, you're still young. But thank you. Thank you for all the million things that you've introduced me to. Thank you for being my random reading partner for those Harry Potter books and Hunger Games and whatever we're going to randomly read together in the future.
I'll send you stuff.
And I will read it because you make me. And thank you so much for joining this episode. And Clyde, thank you for, just being you. And for letting Huso and I get you hip to game and for you watching all of Game of Thrones.
Thank you, Alice, for being here. That was a good episode.
No
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
we got to have you back. So we would love to have you back.
Absolutely.
Thanks. I definitely brainstormed a list on my mat leave. So I've got some things on deck.
Nice. And thank you all for listening. We have a new episode every month. You can find us on all social media at Pop Cult Parent, POPCULTPARENT. You can email us at popcultparent@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate us, review, and subscribe. Oh, and guess what, y'all? We have a website. So if you find us on any of the social media, you can check out our new website where you will find all of our episodes and other fun, cool things. So feel free to check out our website. And as always, join the cult.
Hold the door.
That's how you want to end the episode. That's how you want to end it. All right, y'all.
Perfect.
Peace.